Hello and welcome to the TV Enthusiast discussion of Game of Thrones, Season 5, Episode 10, Mother's Mercy. This is the season finale. Nothing really happened. Kind of uneventful. Yeah, just like you said earlier, just Tyrion just kind of sat on the floor for an hour or so, and that was pretty much
life. Pondering.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. No, of course not. This was actually quite an eventful episode for a season finale. Structurally, it was a little weird. There were some parts that kind of seemed like they didn't work that well. I think that HBO really needs to get past the it has to fit into an hour mentality and think like, if the season finale needs it for Game of Thrones, let it go like an hour and a half or something, you know?
Right.
There were some stories that felt really abbreviated and quick.
Yeah, it did. They had a lot to wrap up this season. I feel they had a lot to go through, and I was skeptical whether they could satisfactorily wrap things up with an hour at the end of the season, considering all the threads they had going this year. But I think they did an admirable job.
Sorry. My phone was just going off for some reason. Let's talk about the events that happened in this episode. Let's start in the north. We're not going to get to the wall yet. We'll do that last. But we can talk about Stannis. We can talk about Brienne. We can talk about Sansa. Let's start with Stannis's march.
Oh, yes, Stannis. Yeah, his strategy of burning his daughter alive at the stake really worked out well for him. I think that really turned his fortunes around. And just kidding. No, it didn't.
Yeah. He everything kind of fell apart for him. His men ended up most all his sellswords deserted him, which you'd imagine they do after watching a man burn his own daughter at the stake.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I'm out of here.
It's like, this guy is
took all the horses too.
And
it seems like they joined the Boltons.
Yeah, it seems like they joined the Boltons. It's probably upon viewing that, they were probably like, okay, this guy is totally insane. I don't think we want to support him anymore.
You got to see Melisandre for the first time looking kind of unsure of herself. And, at first she was like, the Lord of Light kept his promise. Look, it's, the path is melting. Oh, all the sellswords left. They took all the horses. Oh, your wife hung herself.
Yeah, his wife committed suicide. And then Melisandre ditched him. She just ran away. And so it was
took off back for the wall.
Yeah. At that point, he was screwed.
Yeah. So his army got just slaughtered by the Boltons. Just every single one killed. No hostages. One person surrendered, and his surrender was accepted with a sword to the back by Ramsay.
By Ramsay, yeah.
Stannis got in a few badass moves when he was cornered by some guys and killed them off. He was wounded, ended up sitting by a tree, and he got a late caller.
Yeah, Brienne of Tarth.
Yeah.
Who left her post.
Yeah, left her post a second before Sansa's candle went on.
Yeah, just because Stannis was there. And she had to go.
Best of all, while Ramsay and the Boltons were all away from the castle, so she could have stormed in, taken her out of there, safely, and gotten back. But no, she saw Stannis, left her post, used Oathkeeper to keep one oath while breaking another.
Yeah, yep. And she killed
she's just never going to get it right, is she?
No, she's not.
Just so important to finish him off, even though he was already doomed.
Right. So Brienne killed Stannis, and that was the end of that.
So we saw her kind of swinging down on him, and the camera cut away. We don't know if that meant something else. It seems I think she killed him.
I think she did too.
But there's some debate on the internet about, if maybe she was killed from behind and it cut away at that. Or if, like at the last minute she stopped or something. We don't know what happened. It was kind of a weird cut.
It was a weird cut. I don't know what the purpose of that was. They kind of cut it so that it looked like Ramsey stabbed her from behind because they cut to Ramsey stabbing somebody elsewhere around that time, and it was kind of weird. I don't know why they did that.
Yeah. Maybe she did get hit from behind, but still killed him.
Right.
Had to cut it that way. Maybe Sansa will come down and find a flayed Brienne or something in the castle. I don't know, but so that's kind of what happened with her. And that's what happened with Stannis. Let's talk about...
So Stannis is out of the game now.
Yeah.
He's eliminated.
Unless there's like some really off-the-wall twist we're just not expecting coming out of nowhere,
Right.
He seems to be gone. But let's talk about the other person up in the north there, and that was Sansa.
Yes.
So we saw her pick up that one tool a couple episodes back. When she had seen that woman flayed, she'd picked up some kind of like a barrel opening tool or something. And we were like, ooh, that's a Chekhov's gun. Is she going to, put that through Ramsay's eye or something? No, she just kind of dropped it on the ground after using it to get her door open.
Yeah.
She takes off. She's making pretty good progress on finding a way to escape. And then she gets cornered by Theon or Reek, along with Ramsay's pain whore. I don't know what to call her.
Girlfriend's too nice of a word.
His S&M buddy. I don't know.
I don't
know. And yeah, so she basically refers to Sansa as, Ramsay only needing certain parts of her.
Right.
Sansa says, I'd rather just die now than, die being somebody else, like with nothing left remaining of me.
Right.
And that caused Theon to finally act.
Yep, Theon had a little bit of a redemptive moment. He saved Sansa from Ramsay's
S&M buddy.
S&M buddy. He saved because he killed her. She fell off of the castle and died.
Yeah. Oh, at least we think so. A lot of uncertainty in the way deaths were showing in this episode versus many others. Because, that's what I thought at the end of the first episode, that Bran was dead,
She looked pretty dead. They focused on her body and...
Yeah. But then they go trying to take off right as they're trying to finally, it's like, finally, I have a way out. Then the horn sounds, Ramsay's coming back.
Yep, Ramsay's coming back. So maybe not.
Yeah, so Theon and Sansa look at each other and they decide, we're going to do the Thelma and Louise and jump off this castle wall.
Jump off this castle wall, and who knows what happened after. They just cut away and we don't see them again.
Yeah, it was a pretty big fall. They are in the snow, so that could help, I guess. But, it's not like as if snow infinitely protects you if you fall, People die from hitting snow. It's not as soft as it appears all the time.
Maybe they're using Lowell's logic.
So, yeah, who knows? Maybe Sansa will grab Theon and use him to cushion her fall or something.
Maybe. After that, I think we went to Marine. We saw the aftermath of what happened with Daenerys and her dragon, where she flew off on her dragon. And then we got Tyrion and the others.
Tyrion, Grey Worm. I can't remember the name of her translator or her current beau.
I can't remember the name of her current beau either. I'm like, I can't remember his name.
And Jorah.
And Jorah. And they're all contemplating what to do. Because, well, the first order is they got to go find Daenerys wherever she ended up. And they had some back and forth there. Tyrion wanted to go, but they shut him out. They're like, no. What can you even do? He was like,
but they made a great point, and that's that they need somebody to govern there.
Yeah, so
and Tyrion's pretty much perfect for that.
So Tyrion has now found himself as the interim ruler of Meereen in Daenerys' absence, which
He's
is
basically the hand of the king, basically.
Yeah, which is kind of an interesting position that Tyrion finds himself in. And who shows up but Varys at the end there.
I love those two together.
I do.
So it's great to see Varys back with Tyrion. They're in that role working together. I love how Varys said it's a very dangerous city or something, and Tyrion said, if only I knew somebody who was a master of whispers.
Oh, he said, if only I had a friend who had a network of spies. That's true, because with Varys' skills and his network, he could root out the Sons of the Harpy and find out who's responsible for that.
You have Varys' secrecy. You have Tyrion's kind of clever ruthlessness.
Yeah.
You have Grey Worm just being and his command over the Unsullied. And then you have her translator as kind of like the image of, Daenerys' rule,
Yeah.
And so you kind of have this interim government kind of has all the parts it needs,
That's going to be the best government that place ever had.
Yeah. And it's going to be fun to see. It's always fun to see people that have no expectations of Tyrion and then come to greatly respect him, because of whatever he does. So it's going to be cool to see, you could already see, they had the moment where Grey Worm found out that Tyrion saved the translator girl, And so he already kind of has some kind of a respect for him from that. But it's going to be great to kind of see them work. I think that's going to be kind of a fun pairing, Tyrion and Grey Worm.
I think that's going to be a fun pairing, too. I think that's going to be great. Can't wait for that season. And we saw Daenerys where she ended up. She ended up somewhere with her dragon. Her dragon has no interest in bringing her back to Meereen. Dragon seems to have more interest in sleeping right now. So Daenerys runs out to find food, and she gets surrounded by this tribe.
Dothraki.
Yeah, okay. I was saying they look like Dothraki. I don't know if they were supposed to. I wasn't sure if they were supposed to.
You can tell by the swords. They had those curved swords.
Yeah. That's the first thing I thought. They're Dothraki. I was like, holy cow. I wonder if, they'd recognize her if she said what her position was.
She took off her ring, which I believe it was Kotaku or IO9 or one of those sites, posted a picture showing her wedding ring to Khal Drogo and then that ring, and they're not the same ring.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if it's supposed to be the same ring, and that's why she took it off to hide it or something. I don't know if that's what, and they had just changed it, and just figured nobody would notice. But yeah, it was a different ring, and she was wearing it on a different finger, so it could be something unrelated. I don't know. That was, I guess, its own Chekhov's gun of sort that we're supposed to...
I thought she took off her ring because she knew she was being captured at that moment, and so to leave it as a clue for
that's the other kind of ruling possibility. It's kind of a it's like I could see that happening, but it's kind of far-fetched if you think about it. Like this massive land, a single ring in the desert.
That's true. Yeah.
But yeah, that's another kind of possibility that people have brought up about that it could have been for. It'll play some part later. Either they'll find it and use it to try to track her down from there, or we'll find out why she did that in some other way, I guess. It was just another one of those kind of weird, like weirdly loose moments in this episode, which there were quite a few, where it just seemed like they didn't have enough time to kind of properly get into it.
Yeah, it was. It was. And that was the end of Daenerys' story. That was the end of the Marine storyline for the season.
Let's talk about King's Landing.
Yeah, King's Landing.
Shame.
So Cersei thought she had a way out of this. And Cersei decided that her way out of this was to confess her sins, beg for forgiveness, and that she could go home. And it didn't quite work out that way for her at all. Yeah.
Still has her trial coming up. That's the thing, is like it's not over.
Yeah, it's not over.
They're still doing it.
When he brought up the trial, he said, well, we still got to put you on. And she was like kind of surprised by that. She was like, but I confessed. What do you mean? And it's like, well, we have to determine whether or not you're guilty.
What was the other things? It was the things she didn't confess to.
Yeah, we got to determine whether or not you're guilty of the things that you didn't confess to.
Yeah, so she got shamed, and she basically got home release. They put a ankle tracker on her.
Yeah, and we met the newest member of her Kingsguard. A plot thread I didn't think they would follow up on, I guess.
They had to, because they'd shown him like jerking around in that guy's workshop,
Right. I didn't know if that was like going to be an actual story thread or if that was just color to like show what kind of character this guy was, that he was like maybe a little bit crazy. But no, he reanimated the mountain. The body.
He seems a little different though. Like the mountain isn't the type that would normally just kind of be in the Kingsguard or something. He's almost like Frankenstein.
He's looking really purple behind that mask.
What?
He's looking really purple behind that helmet.
He doesn't seem to be in control of his own facilities.
Right.
He's just a giant meat puppet.
He's a Frankenstein monster.
Yeah.
That's what he is. And that was also like, that's kind of like a weird way to end that. It's like, she got back from being shamed. It's like, well, here's Frankenstein. And then he sweeps her up and carries her. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. It's just some of the clumsiness of this episode.
Yeah.
Like I said, this episode should have been like an hour and a half or so, just to kind of flesh little bits and pieces out more. I think Sansa's story, for instance, needed a bit more screen time than it got.
Okay, yeah, right. They jump off the wall. There's a lot of this, actually. Yeah, they jump off the wall, and then that's that. Daenerys gets kidnapped. That's that. Frankenstein happens out of nowhere, and that's that. So yeah, there's a little clunkiness in like trying to like resolve these.
By the way, Cersei's scene was the budget of the season, because that was they were trying to negotiate with her to be naked for that scene apparently, and they weren't able to do it, so that was all like CG.
That was
CG'd her head onto somebody else's body. So
they got somebody else because
that was a rather expensive nude scene.
So that was not Lena Headey at all.
No, that wasn't her naked body. It was her face.
I thought during that scene, I thought, that's so cool and brave of her to do that for that scene, because it's such an important, vital moment for the character and for the scene. Like,
and now I disillusioned you.
Oh no, I guess she's not that cool.
I thought it was kind of cool the way they did it, because not the CG aspect, but just like the way it was presented. She was like impeccable when she was naked,
Right.
And she's amongst all of these poor, filthy people. And it's like a game of Splatoon. Like, she's going down the thing and she's just getting splatted. And by the time she reaches the other end, she looks just like them,
You see an Inkling girl jump out of the cloud and splatter.
She started out with her head high, proud, acting like she owned it and everything, and by the end she was in
She was
tears,
in tears.
like barely like slipping, and barely be able to hold herself up, and filthy, and I thought it was interesting to present it that way, to make her look so pristine and perfect, and then by the end she's just a mess.
Right. Damn. Yeah, that was a very trying scene. The next part, I guess, the interesting thing was what happened with Arya.
Mm-hmm.
She got her revenge.
She got her revenge at a cost, but let's talk about that revenge first. Man, that stabbing.
Yeah, that was brutal.
I watched with my mom, and she was turning away as she was stabbing, like, oh, and I was like, yes.
Yes, Jesus. Okay,
like, go for the eyes. Yeah, cut off his nose.
Apparently, this guy was worse than I thought. Because I thought he was like a pedophile, and he was like into young girls. Well, he's into beating young girls and making them cry.
He's the guy that was designated to beat Sansa for Joffrey.
Oh, well, that figures, because he certainly enjoys it, because he does it on his leisure time.
Yeah. So the two things, the reason he's on Arya's list is because he's the one that apparently killed Syrio Forel, who was her sword teacher in King's Landing. And so he's the first person on her list because of that. The second reason that he should be on her list, but that she doesn't even know, is that he was the one designated to beat up Sansa, basically, for Joffrey.
So Arya kills him.
Brutally.
Beautifully. Kills
him. Using a faceless man's mask, that was awesome. When she like looked at, because I was like, that's Arya. When he was hitting her and she wasn't reacting,
right?
I'm like, oh, that's so Arya. And then she's wearing a wig or something, and she lifts up her head and it's somebody else, and I'm like, oh, I instantly knew. I'm like, she took one of the masks.
Yeah, she took one of the faceless men's masks, and that caused the issue, because when she got back, Jaqen H'ghar was not too happy.
Not too pleased.
Not too pleased. He said, "You took a life that wasn't yours to take. You stole from the many-faced god."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in retaliation to that, Life had to pay for Life. They pulled her arms behind her back, and then he drank poison himself.
Yep. And died.
Yeah. And then Arya was freaking out because she wanted, she was like, this is like one of her only people that she cared about,
Right.
But then she gets a little bit of a hard lesson when she finds out that, there's another Jaqen H'ghar just walks right out there.
Yeah.
He's basically, the lesson is that Jaqen H'ghar was always nobody.
Yeah, he's nobody.
He's no one. That's what the faceless men are. They're no one. And so that might not have even been the same Jaqen H'ghar, for all we know.
For all we know.
All along, that was the one that she knew in Westeros. And
he said something. He said the faces are poison to people who are somebody, or something like that.
And so I had the fear of a lifetime, thinking, oh shit, Arya's dead. Especially when she's taking all the masks off the fake Jaqen, and the last one, it's Arya.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, they're saying that she's dying now. But it seems that it wasn't that she died. She became blind.
Which probably is because she took the eyes of her victim.
And see, that apparently happened in the book as well, that she was blinded, but it happened in a different way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know all the details. Can't even say anything about it, but it was supposedly it happened a little bit differently. Like everything's happening kind of differently.
Like everything's happening kind of differently. So Arya is blind now. I don't know if that's temporary or if that's a permanent affliction.
Now she's got to become Zautoichi.
Yeah, now she's gonna
blind swords master and
blind swords master. So the lesson was very clear. You know, if she wants to become nobody, she's gonna have to give up her revenge. You know, her list, everything that makes Arya Arya. Because to become nobody, you have to give up those attachments.
yeah. So I'm hoping she doesn't, because I want Arya to get her vengeance, and it's less interesting if she just becomes nobody.
Well, it's an interesting dilemma for her.
Yeah.
You know, because now she has two roads ahead of her. Which one is she going to choose to go down?
I'm kind of surprised that they didn't do that they didn't get back to her buried sword and stuff. I thought that was going to be her final moment in this season, was going to be her retrieving that sword.
Not going blind.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's kind of like a lot of stuff in this episode. It just seemed very abbreviated, you know?
Right, definitely. And then finally we have the wall.
Yep.
This was the briefest. Well, I mean, earlier we had the wall, where we had Jon Snow talking to
Melisandre.
Not Melisandre.
Oh, he talked to her too, but he talked to Sam.
Yeah.
And Sam's taking off to Old Town. That's where the Citadel is, where all the maesters train. And he wants to become a maester for the wall.
Yeah.
So he wants to learn more about the White Walkers, and that's kind of, I think, what they were implying when he was talking to Stannis, where Stannis said, "Keep reading," you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So he's planning to get Gilly out of there, and then to become a maester, and then return with power to the wall, you know?
Right.
But John's a little reluctant to let him go.
Right. But understandable, because he's John's friend, and he's the only person there that John feels he can truly trust.
Yeah.
So we give up that, you know, because there's nobody else there that John can trust. And so
John
we see.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. One thing first is that John also had an interaction with Melisandre, who came back to the wall.
Yeah.
After ditching Stannis. Again, another scene that kind of seemed like we just didn't get enough for what we actually needed in the scene. You know, John basically asked, "What about Stannis?" You know, "Oh, he's dead." Okay. And then we had the moment with Davos, which should have been much longer and played out, but again, happened very quickly. What about Shireen? Oh, she's gone too. Oh, shit, that sucks.
Yeah, that sucks.
They really should have played that off more. That was the problem with this episode. If one thing can be said about this episode, there's just so much was abbreviated.
I'm wondering what the point of having Melisandre come back to the wall is, considering what happens next.
Well, we'll get into that when we get to that.
Like it had more impact, or that it was supposed to have more impact than it seems like it's going to now.
That's something I hadn't even, what you're hinting at right now is something I hadn't even thought of, and somebody else brought it up to me, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't think about that, and things started clicking into place. That could all be false hope.
Oh yeah, I've seen the rumor you're referring to, people passing that around, and I'm like,
it makes sense if you think about certain aspects. It's just I don't think it's going to happen, because I think that it's almost like trolling on the showrunner's part.
Right,
it's getting our hopes up, but they're trying to say, didn't you learn all along? When we do a really fucked up killing like this, it's permanent. If you want to see somebody come back, it has to be somebody horrible that you hate.
Ollie informs Jon Snow that
his uncle's back.
That his uncle's back. That wildling
who disappeared in the first season.
Yeah. He's saying a wildling saw his uncle, and his uncle's alive. And he informs Jon Snow, so Jon Snow goes out there with his first ranger. And, you know, they go out to confront this wildling, but there's no wildling there.
There's just a signpost that says traitor.
Yep. And they all take turns stabbing Jon Snow
They Julius Caesared him.
They Julius Caesared him. And
Yeah.
Jon Snow dies in the very last scene of the episode.
With how long they stood on him, as like you saw his blood kind of pooling out and stuff. What I thought, because I didn't even think about the Melisandre thing yet. I totally thought his eyes were going to go blue.
I know, I was waiting for his eyes to go blue and for him to White Walker out. But apparently that never happened. I mean, it's good that didn't happen. That would have been kind of stupid. But now it makes me think, without Jon there, they're not prepared for the White Walkers. The White Walkers are going to steamroll them.
Well,
they're dead.
The thing is that they killed him because he saved the wildlings.
Yeah, they killed him.
It's not like they're going to kill him and then do nothing about the wildlings.
Right. Yeah.
So this means that they're going to go after the wildlings. They're going to create more corpses of both their own and the wildlings, and then they're going to get so steamrolled.
They're going to get so steamrolled. These idiots are going to get wiped out. And it's good. I don't care.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, all the kind of likable Night's Watch people are either dead or not there.
Yeah, or not there.
Yeah.
So it's like, you screwed up, Ollie. You screwed up.
It's like the maester that was really kind and wise, he's dead. The former Lord Commander, he's dead. The current Lord Commander, Jon Snow, he's dead.
Yeah, I know, right?
His two kind of like tough friends that he had with him, they're both dead. There was the one friend that came back with him from the crazy episode, the one that was reluctant to let the wildlings go, but said that he'd follow whatever Jon said. And so he saw the White Walkers too. I don't know where he is.
Well, I don't know.
He came back with them, I think. And he knows, like, he saw the wildlings. So and he wasn't one of the ones that stabbed Jon, so he's clearly not in on that. So if he's still at Castle Black, he's the only one left.
The thing that throws me is Melisandre is there.
Yeah.
And we know, like, she's not just going to stay at, whatever for no reason. So
there's actually a lot to talk about here with this. Go on.
There's got to be something else going on with that. That's what I thought. That's why I was surprised they killed Jon Snow, because I was like, well, what about Melisandre and all that? And I thought there was going to be something happening there. And now I don't know what's going on.
The thing about Melisandre that we need to kind of address, and this is what we were saying, it seems clear to me that they placed this on purpose to give the hints that this is what's going to happen. That doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Right.
The showrunners and George R. R. Martin both have a tendency to troll.
Yeah, they do.
This feels almost more like a troll to me than it does actual hope. And so what we're talking about, of course, is Melisandre is a priestess of the Red God, the Lord of Light. And we've seen priests from the Lord of Light resurrect people before.
Right.
There's the one who was with that band that Arya got captured by for a short time, that fought the Hound and got killed and then was brought back. And they said he had been brought back tons of times. So there's that exists in this world, and right. Then we have Melisandre as a person of that faith there. On top of that, there's something to say about Melisandre with her disillusionment at what happened. She doesn't. I don't know if it means she's disillusioned and believing in her God, or if it's more that she's disillusioned and that she had found the right man. That's the prince that was promised, or whatever, the king that was promised.
Right, and she thinking maybe that king was actually Jon Snow.
And remember her making googly eyes at Jon Snow quite a few times, trying to have sex with him, all this kind of stuff, the king's blood stuff. You get into the whole, that theory, the R+L=J theory, which is the whole thing about Jon Snow being the child of a Stark and a Targaryen.
Yeah.
So you have all those kind of things start to play together, and you're like, okay, well, that would be, if that's true and Melisandre sensed it, then that's why she was eager for his king's blood.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Because he obviously his king's blood would be ridiculously powerful.
Yeah, it would be ridiculous. Well, she better go scoop some up. It's all bleeding out.
But yeah, maybe she sees him as now the Lord of Light, candidate. In which case, she might be able to bring him back.
Right.
There's another possibility for him to come back beyond even that. And that's that we know the Starks have these connections with their wolves. And we've seen the furthest that connection goes with Bran, who's able to warg both into his wolf and now into like Hodor and other things. But it's been hinted at that this kind of almost supernatural connection that all the Stark children have with their dire wolves is tied to that warging ability. That it wouldn't just be Bran that has that ability, but like maybe he's the most powerful of that ability, but then it's something that Starks have in general. It's something that runs in their bloodline. And if that's so, then Jon could have gone into Ghost.
Right.
And we've seen that happen before on the show too. There was that crow that was going crazy after Jon. That we had found out had been that one wildling that was a warg.
Yeah, that was.
And he had warged into the crow as he died.
Right.
And the crow was attacking Jon and stuff. So there's that possibility too of him living on in, like in Ghost, his wolf.
See, but
so there's that there too. Again, could also be another breadcrumb to troll us on the end.
Well, here's the thing about Ghost is I feel like after they got done killing Jon, they just kill his direwolf.
I don't think that they suspect his direwolf of being something like that, like being this hint at warging. We got that insight, but not they don't really seem to believe in all the mystical stuff.
It's not that they believe that; it's that that's Jon's direwolf. Nobody else has a connection to it. I mean, after they killed Robb Stark, they went out there and they made sure they killed his direwolf for good measure.
That was a different group, though. That was at the Red Wedding. That was the with the Night's Watch. Although, like a few of them are kind of vindictive. The guy that got the first stab in, Thorne, he's kind of vindictive and has always been a pain in Jon's side. The Ollie, he's vindictive about the wildlings. He doesn't really hate Jon Snow, but he took Sam's speech the wrong way about doing what's necessary, thinking like, oh, what's necessary is that Jon Snow needs to die so that we can finally kill those damn wildlings, which is, him completely misunderstanding that message. But I don't know if they would kill the direwolf for any other reason than they thought he was a threat to them.
Right, maybe.
I think they'd probably just kick him out. They'd push him out, and out the gate or something, if they could, unless like it fought back or something. I don't know. Who knows what happened with that? We have no idea. Literally the last thing we saw was Jon Snow dying.
Right.
And then we cut to black. And then it cut to black for like 5 seconds, and then we got credits. So I thought like, oh, they're doing that Tyrion swerve again. Remember that episode this season where we had Tyrion fell into the water and it got darker and then it cut to black?
Oh, yep.
We thought it was over, and then Jorah pulled. I thought it was going to do that same thing, but with Jon waking up as a white.
Right.
I thought that's what it was going to be. Not like he's back as a White Walker, but like as a white, like as a zombie controlled by the White Walkers.
Right.
That he was basically going to be the tool that ended up causing them to let the White Walkers through the wall. By like just murdering everybody in the Night's Watch, basically. But yeah, that's all we got for the episode. That's what happened. That's how it ended off. There's a lot of kind of gray, or not gray area. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of like it's it's kind of like Hannibal season 2's finale, where we do like, okay, all these characters, we don't know who lived, who died, you know?
Right.
Except that I don't feel that they necessarily intended it to be that way. Like, I think they intended us to suspect that Theon and Sansa are fine, but it could also easily be interpreted that they just double suicided.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that they are implying that Jon might come back with all these things as like a trolling measure to eventually, you know, twist the knife in our cuts.
He's dead.
I think that they're implying that, you know, Brienne killed Stannis and that was that, but there's also the possibility from the way they cut it that something else happened. Stannis might still be alive, she might be dead for all we know. You know, we don't know. It's just such a like the weird way that this episode was cut together, which I think this is one of the weaker season finales of Game of Thrones. I mean, it was eventful. A lot happened, had some great scenes in it, but as like a whole, it just kind of felt like...
It did.
I don't know.
It did feel like... Yeah, it felt weak to me.
It wasn't cohesive.
Right.
So, yeah, what are you expecting for season 6? What do you think, like all these kind of what ifs we have and these kind of measures we have, where do you think these characters that we've just seen are? Like, what do you think their next path is?
I have no clue. If this is about anything, it's like anything that just happened. Like it did with Daenerys. She just got, you know, kidnapped. I would kind of predicted that after last week's episode. Another thing I wouldn't have predicted Jon died. So who knows?
I had a bad feeling about that. Remember earlier this season?
Yeah, you were talking like Ollie, like
there was just Jon was putting himself when he became Lord Commander and stuff, and you could see kind of like the factions that were against him and for him. I'm like, ooh, he's in a really dangerous position right now.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I've been worried about him for a while. So
he should not have accepted that job.
Yeah. He didn't want it at first, so Sam's gonna feel terrible.
Yeah.
Not only did he leave when Jon was saying, but I need you. Not only that, but, you know, but his whole position that put him in this hated position in the first place is directly related to him as well. So, yeah.
Oh, poor Jon. So, I mean, it's hard to say what's going to happen next season. I'm looking forward to Tyrion running Marine. Dealing with that, see where that goes. Looking forward to Frankenstein Mountain. I don't know what's going to happen with that.
There's something I'm a little upset about with that, and it's natural, but it's at the same time, it was kind of cool to see Cersei break down so much at the end of her kind of humiliating walk. But we know that there's no lasting impression of that she's just going to be more vindictive than ever.
Oh,
because we know her character, and her having the mountain just kind of, it's almost like a pass on that. Like, well, now she doesn't even have to think about the fact that she felt powerless, because now she's like more powerful than she's ever been.
Yeah, I know, right?
8-foot tall monster ready to just slaughter her at her whim.
At her whim.
So all these people, as you said, the last thing you'll see is my face and then you'll die. Well, now she can make all those threats come true without ever having that moment to contemplate all the kind of fucked up things that she did that got her into that position in the first place. Right. So she kind of got out. She got like a cheap out of that situation, out of that growth, which I don't know how to feel about with that, you know?
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that either. That's kind of weird. Who knows what's going to happen?
Mm-hmm. What about Arya? You think she's going to continue down the line of the faceless man?
I think so.
That this is going to kind of be her impetus to say, you know, I'm done being Arya. I'm just the blind faceless man now.
I think so.
I hope not, but it seems like that might be what they do. I mean, that's seems like a very George R. R. Martin thing to do, is to make you really want Arya to retain who she is and then have her not do it.
Right, exactly.
What about Sam? You think? What do you think his adventures in Old Town are going to be like?
Don't
That's a
know.
whole new setting. You think we're even going to see that?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know if
Like,
we're
we
even
didn't
going
get
to
we
see
didn't
it.
get Brandon Hoodor this season. Maybe we won't even get them.
I think we're going to get more Brandon Hodor next season.
I think we will next season, but we didn't get him this season. So I could
No,
totally see them ditching Sam next season. You know,
I think so. I think
I
they'll ditch
hope they don't
him.
because I at least want to get his reaction to John. You know.
Right. We might get that. We might get that, but that's probably about it.
Yeah. Um. Let's see what else. Stannis, Brienne, right? All that mess. Sansa, Reek. What do you think's going on there? You think Brienne's just, killed Stannis and that's that?
I think Brienne's going to continue to try to save Sansa now that she's killed Stannis. She's going to go back to that mission.
If that's her mission she's on, that goes on regardless of whether or not Sansa is alive or not, because she doesn't know. Where do you think Sansa is though? Do you think she's? I mean, there's quite a few possibilities. There's the second worst case scenario, which is that she's dead. The first worst case scenario, or the very worst case scenario, is that she's not dead, but she's horribly injured and she's just going to be taken back into the castle.
Yeah.
Her misery will continue, But then there's also the possibility. I mean, there's lots of other possibilities, Littlefinger seemed to be suggesting that he wanted Stannis and Ramsay to go to war, and then the Vale Knights would come in and just kind of clean up the rest. So maybe he's on his way back, in which case he could be kind of if he's still on Sansa's side, if he hasn't completely sold her out, it's hard to tell.
Right.
Maybe he's going to come back and go like, what the fuck's been going on here?
Right. Forgot to mention Jamie and Dorne.
Yeah.
He got a little going away present in the form of his daughter Marcella being poisoned and dead. She's dead now too.
Yeah, jeez, another major death out of nowhere. Yeah, and the second she started showing symptoms, I was like, oh, it was that kiss.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seemed kind of awkward at first, when I first saw it, I was like, oh god, I wouldn't want her lips anywhere near me after her trying to kill me and all the poisons going on in Dorne and stuff.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'd be like, no, yeah, okay, I forgive you, whatever, just steer clear. But yeah, she's apparently dying. We saw the poison also affected the woman who took it, Illyria Sand, but she had an antidote.
Yeah, she had the antidote.
Which I believe is why the way she took it and stuff from the necklace, that's probably the entire reasoning for that scene with Bronn and the one where she gave him the antidote, just so that they could kind of show that scene without explaining it.
Right. So they could explain, so that's the antidote. That's what happened. Right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you think John's coming back?
No.
Dead is dead.
Dead is dead. All Starks must die, according to George.
God, how many are left? Sansa might be gone.
Arya
might be dead too.
If she's not dead, there's Arya, there's Bran, and there's Rickon.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, a boy in the wilderness with a wild dog that just has no idea of anything that's going on. A cripple in a tree.
Yeah, a cripple in a tree.
A blind, revenge-focused woman, now young woman having to try to give up her identity as a Stark.
Yes.
And somebody who might be dead or crippled herself now. Starks are not looking good.
No.
Seems like the only one that could possibly be completely whole is Rickon, and he's off in the wilderness somewhere.
Yeah, that family got the shit into the stick in this story. Holy cow.
So I'll say what I've heard, like I've read kind of book differences and stuff. It seems like we're up to the books completely now. Like I don't think there's anything left that we haven't seen yet.
Oh, okay.
There's a few things that are a little bit different, and so there's a little bit more left, I guess, but because they're different, it's like it's no longer matters. Like it's no longer an issue to have that explained in a certain way. So it's just caught up. In the books, John, like when he dies that way, that's the end of his chapter too. So we don't see anything about what happened after that. I was curious. I'm like, oh, there could still be spoilers because we could get something like, oh, the Night's Watch then burned his body or something, in which case his body's gone, Right. Or it could be something like another kind of hint towards him possibly coming back. But no, the last thing we saw of anything with Jon Snow was him like dying, and that was it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No idea what's going on now. This is kind of like that episode of Lost, that one season finale where like it cut to white instead of black.
Yeah.
The nuclear bomb had gone off, and it was like, okay, no idea.
Yeah, no idea.
Yeah,
no idea what's happening.
Could be anything now. So it's frustrating. Another year to wait.
Oh, tell me about it. Oh, I can't wait for another year. Oh my God, to have these questions resolved.
In the meantime, you can play the Telltale game.
Yes.
I played just the first chapter of it. I think there's like 3 or 4 chapters out now.
Yeah,
I know there's at least 3 chapters out now, maybe more. So there's that. If you're a Game of Thrones fan and you need some more, you need your fix. The first episode really does feel like Game of Thrones. It just has that feeling of dread you kind of feel whenever characters talk to each other. Kind of uneasy tension, it's there, like in spades. So if you just need that fix, well, there you got that. That's an option. If you just need good TV, fucking watch Hannibal.
Just watch Hannibal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We do video impressions on Hannibal too. You can catch the first 2 seasons on Amazon Prime Instant. The episodes of season 3 that have aired already are on NBC.com, which you can watch without any verification. You can just watch it there. So yeah, watch Hannibal if you need something else. You need some other kind of a fantasy fic, it's some kind of fantasy thing to kind of tide you over. I'll recommend you a book or audiobook if you want. There's a book series called The Kingkiller Chronicles, I believe. First book is called The Name of the Wind. It's by an author named Patrick Rothfuss. Very good fantasy series, dark, kind of got like, some of the same stuff going on. George R. R. Martin rated it highly himself. It's a good thing to check out if you need that fantasy fix.
Definitely.
Do you have any other fixes to recommend?
No, that covers it.
Hannibal.
Hannibal.
Fucking watch Hannibal.
Just watch Hannibal.
Nobody watches Hannibal, so fucking watch Hannibal.
Watch it. Watch it.
Or else.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings us to an end here. This is our last episode of our Game of Thrones Season 5 discussion, because even when Game of Thrones comes back, it's going to be our Season 6 discussion. New category.
New category. So,
yeah. Hopefully I'll find some other kind of cool little gimmicks to place in there. Maybe give a new name to the segment. I'm kind of treating each season of our coverage as like a separate thing. So maybe we'll find some little kind of fun things to add in next time.
A song of salt and tears.
I like it. So we'll have to figure something out. Maybe I'll make some kind of an intro video. I don't know. We'll try to do something kind of fun for next season to kind of bring all the excitement back in. Until then, until next April, this is Tyson Gifford, editor-in-chief, TV Enthusiast, saying goodbye.
Bye. It's been fun.